Alright everyone, another mall video and the final episode in my series called An Epic Journey. If you'd like to see the other videos in this series where I traveled from Ohio all the way to South Carolina and back, you can check out the link in the description box below to learn more about my YouTube channel membership, or just click the join button. So in this video, you probably noticed that we're not doing the typical normal intro that I do to my malls, where I drive around the outside and, you have some awesome synthwave 80s style music. That's because this mall was so bland and boring, I almost didn't even want to stop and take time out of my trip to film it, but I did, so here we are. The video is going to be very short, so let's hop into the history of this mall. Unfortunately, there isn't a lot of history on this mall, at least not well-known history. I checked all over the internet on my usual sources and didn't come up with a lot of anything, and as a last-ditched effort, I even checked ChatGPT, but it just got really confused as to where the Blue Ridge Mall was. At first, it thought it was in Tennessee, and then it thought it was actually in Asheville, and I was like, I don't think any of this information is accurate. So, we're going to go with what I found, and I'm going to tell you the limited history on the mall. The Blue Ridge Mall, located in Hendersonville, North Carolina, would see the first announcement made on October of 1981, and the groundbreaking would be scheduled for November 4th of that year. The mall would be given a completion date of July of 1983, and was to be a 350,000 square foot mall anchored by Belk, JCPenney, and a Kmart. The very first store to open at the mall would be the Kmart on May 26th of 1983. It would later be followed by the Peanut Shack and an Eckerd drugstore. The mall would officially open on July 27th of 1983 with the anchors Kmart, JCPenney, and a Belk Simpsons. The mall opened with a total of 21 stores, putting the mall at a 40% occupancy rate. Okay, so it's not too often that I cover a mall here on this channel that literally never was successful. And this one, from reading over its history, I can say never really had success, because in September of 1991, after the owners of the Blue Ridge Mall Limited Partnership failed to make payments for 2 months in a row, the mall would be foreclosed upon. So yeah, this mall's history is really weird because you usually don't hear about malls struggling and having foreclosures until at least the late 90s or into the early 2000s, and this one just had struggles from the beginning. And you might think that maybe the location of this mall is the problem. Well, Hendersonville as of 2020 had a population of around 15,000 people, and I know it's been growing in recent years, so back in the 80s and 90s the population would have been less, but it's located right next to Asheville, North Carolina, which does have a much bigger population, probably only about 10 to 15 minutes away, so I don't know, I don't think location was the issue. After the sale of this mall was delayed a few times, it would come under the ownership of the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation until July 1997, when it would be sold to the highest bidder. The mall would then be sold in 2007 from Hall Story Retail Group to Hendon Properties, who had intentions to redevelop the mall. A TJ Maxx would open at the mall on May 20th of 2012, followed by Joann Fabrics on May 17th of 2013. That very same year, the Kmart would also close. 2014 would see the demolition of the former Kmart for a brand new Dunham Sports. And finally, on October 1st of 2017, the JCPenney would close for good. So as you can see by that mall map, it's just basically one giant corridor, and the weird thing about this mall is that as the population of the area grows, it seems that the mall is finding some success, but it may be just too late for this mall. I don't know, and the way that it's just decorated and designed, I mean, it's not an ugly mall by any means, but it really just doesn't have any character, and I hate the carpeting in the mall because you all know that over the years that's just going to get all gross and nasty. Now, I do kind of like all of the photographs from around the area that are all over the vacant storefronts. It at least kind of sparks the mall up and, gives you something to look at. And for those that are visiting the area, you get to see all the cool attractions that are, in the nearby area to go and visit. It just gave me a lot of ideas of things that I wanted to do. It also oftentimes brings a bit of nostalgia because you can look back into the past and see what things used to be like in the area, or, oftentimes the mall itself. One big problem that I noticed with this mall immediately is the lack of a good food court. That's usually the one thing in a mall that I like to visit, especially when I'm traveling. I can grab something kind of quick to eat at the food court and, support the local mall. And unfortunately, this mall just didn't have a proper food court. So really, like I said before, because this mall wasn't very big and it's just kind of bland and boring, I didn't spend a whole lot of time in here filming, and in fact, probably most of this video is just driving around filming the outside of the mall, which I think, in my opinion, was a little more interesting to see some of the exterior of the department stores and, whatever. With the population of Hendersonville, North Carolina growing, I really hope that they can do something with this mall that will benefit the community as a whole, because it really is a nice community. I enjoyed visiting the area. Well, it's time to wrap up this over 1,000-mile road trip journey and begin the 4-hour drive back to Ohio. If you enjoyed this video, I really hope you'll check out my YouTube membership and the rest of this series. I did all kinds of cool things like south of the border, I went to the Land of Oz, and a few other malls. But for now, I want to thank everyone who does monetarily support this channel and the future of video. It is very much appreciated, and I will see you all on the next episode.